It's often one word changes everything. One word changes the meaning of it. Again, if you find that, right, you need to communicate that back to Amy in that a workshop, yeah, might not be as well known here, right? It's a big American phrase. Could it be an educational class instead of a workshop? We're putting on a 60-minute educational class or an educational event. A 60-minute, this week we've got an educational event for people with back pain. Oh, good. So I agree. And again, that's the stuff that needs to be fed around. It's often one word changes everything. One word changes the meaning of it. So workshop means one thing to one person. Do I have to do something? Educational event. Oh, that sounds fun. Potentially to one person. Now, some people will think, oh yeah, I quite like the workshop. This sounds interactive and fun. And some will go, oh, that's not for me. So as you're having that conversation, you need to be able to switch in and out and go, we've got a workshop. Oh, what's one of them? Well, it's an educational class. Oh, okay. And you'll watch their face. Their physiology will change. Same thing, just it's a different way of positioning it. And over time, you'll all realise which is the one that knocks it out of the park. Change the meaning, change the outcome. Have I ever told you that story about the blind man? Have I told you? I've taught it so many times in America. So there's a story, they did an experiment in America with a blind man. And they left him, he was begging basically. They left him at the bottom of the stairs, like in Chicago or wherever it was, with his little begging bucket, and he had a sign that said, "I'm blind, please help." Nobody left him any money. It went on for about 3 or 4 hours, and everybody just walked past. It was like the busiest street in Chicago. Everybody's just seen him. Nobody's leaving him any money. He got a couple of dollars and that was it. And on the afternoon they went up and they changed the board. So the little cardboard, changed it, and they left the camera on him, and he ended up with about $1,000. All they did was change the words on the board from "I'm blind, please help" to "It's a beautiful day. I won't get to see any of it. Please help." Change the meaning, change the outcome. So the external thing is it's a workshop. What does that mean to somebody? So it's a good point. Back pain, what does that mean? What means you lose your independence and your mobility? Are you worried about back pain? Nope. Are you worried about losing your independence? Yes, because of back pain. See the next step? So it always goes back to the words you use. It's something I learned the other day to explain it. When somebody's in the deciding phase of making a decision, so when they're thinking about it, that like agony over the year, and this is with every decision that you make, you are when you're in the planning phase, you think about external problems, or you think about external factors as the reason that you're going to do something and make a decision. But when you actually decide, it's the result of an internal thing. So the 2 years of thinking about, am I going to move home? It's we need a bigger room, we want to live in a nicer environment, etc. But the actual decision that you made on that night, it's because next door's kids are banging like fuck again through the wall, and you're just pissed that you live in a house that is like not where you want to be. So it's like the actual decision, which happened in a heartbeat, is internal. The thinking about the decision is always external. So that "I'm blind" was external, and nobody gave him anything. The action happened. A lot of them will be like, "Oh well, if I'm walking past later on, maybe I will." So it's in there. If he's still there tomorrow, I might give him some money, whatever. But later on in the afternoon, it became an internal problem, and the internal problem took them from the deciding phase to the decision phase. There's a big difference between deciding and making a decision. Today, you're all deciding over something that you've probably been deciding on it for a year. And the moment that you commit to it, it's a decision. Remember, it's much as about that follow-up phone call at the end is as much about just, did you have a good time? Were you happy? Did we give you good value? Blah, 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 yeah. And you just continue that relationship. That's what that phone call is. It's not just, on average, you're going to get 1 or 2 out of 10 who will buy something else. And if they're already doing it, then it might drop to 1. But remember, that phone call is just about Did we do everything? Yeah. Are you likely to come back? Are you likely to tell somebody, is there anything we need to know that we're not seeing that could tell you about what Jordan's doing? That's what the role is about as much. And then if you get somebody who goes, look, I just absolutely love it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I'd definitely come back. All right, good. Would you mind leaving us a review on Facebook or Google? Boom, and then you send them the link. So it's not just the ruthless pursuit of more money. It's just confirming. It is quality control. Remember, the whole concept of it was quality control. So the form gets filled out. Yeah, great. If we can get 1 or 2 into cash pay, into massage or buying more sessions or top up or orthotics, whatever. Or somebody who just says, well, I do, but not yet. Call me back in 2 months. Right, good. Let's get it on the calendar, and I'll call you back in 2 months. Get on the phone and go, were you happy? Did you need to explain anything? Do we need to explain anything? Anything you want me to tell the physio before your next session, etc. Because that stops the people who drop off. That stops the people who are confused. That stops the people like, what the hell was all that about? Which there are some. No matter how well they look at you, how confident they are, there are 2 out of 10. The laws of business are 2 out of 10 of everything. And if you just play it, you'll find it. So you might need to make 10 phone calls to get 2 leads. That's fine. That just becomes the game. If you turn around and go, I did 40 phone calls, all right, good. In theory, that should be 6, 7 or 8 people who are going to advance. It just is on everything. So in the same breath that for every 10 people who have an assessment, there are 2 who leave here who look you in the eye and tell you that they're happy, who are not. Because that's just what we do. You don't want to have a confrontation. You don't want to say, well, you know, I didn't quite like this, or I didn't really understand that because you look silly or stupid. You don't want to question the money because then they might think you look tight. So it's just a lot easier to walk out that door, stand there, look, smile, be happy, and then walk out the door and think, I'm not going back there. And all it takes is for us to reframe something or re-explain something again that they see completely different. Why not? Why not? I think if we are going to start it, it would be after they've paid the money. It's after you've paid that first, like, yeah. It's after you've paid that money that's like, now that like the game's real now, you're getting judged. When it's free, it's like, hey, everything's cool and it's nice. And that's why I love the free first session, because they just come in with no expectations. People have a hang up over a free first session, and there's nothing wrong with it if your price is built in on the next session, because it allows them to walk through the door and go, hey, this is all right. Imagine how many restaurants in this town you'd go to if they rang you up and said free first one. Imagine. And then they just put an extra £1 on every single meal for the rest of their days to cover it. Yes or no? Every one of you would, because you'd be driving down to that new Indian or whatever and go, hey, this is free, it's great. Like, yeah, I'll have another glass of wine. How's the food? Twice as good as when you're paying for it. Yeah. Yes? Yeah, they would. So, now I'm not saying give it away always free for everything, but there's an argument to say if you can let people in and your price strategy is right on the back end, and then you have a follow-up process of somebody who calls you the next day and goes, what did you think of the restaurant? Good. Well, at the very least, could you leave us a review so we can dominate TripAdvisor and whatever else, so that when anybody's in Hartlepool thinking of an Indian, you come to us. Good. First job. It's a marketing expense. All right? Secondly, when are you coming back? Can I have your email address so I can send you out offers and emails and, you know, blah, 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 to get you to come? Can you like us on social? Can you do whatever? And just to let you know, in 3 or 4 weeks' time, every Friday night, we are every 4th Friday of the month, we do whatever to get you to come back. Well, they do, and you know that, right? So again, so the reviews are not massive, but they can get a few people over the line. It's social proof. They get a few people over the line, and more often than not, what they do is they validate the decision that they've made, and that's the big thing to understand. When you go to a review site, you've made the decision to buy. You're just looking to confirm it. And again, from a business point of view, people don't understand that. They don't start the relationship; they cement the relationship. So in our world, when somebody rings up and goes, "Oh, we say it's like whatever fee," they're like, "Oh shit, that's a bit more than expensive." But if then they have been on a review site and they've seen 175 reviews, it's like, "Oh, okay, this must be worth it." And that conversation, again, back to a restaurant. You go to a restaurant and it's twice the price you were expecting. The way that you will validate staying in that restaurant is, but TripAdvisor had, yes or no? Yes or no? So, TripAdvisor had 750 4.5-star reviews. All right then, let's pay. It validated it. That's it. So again, it's different from when you're calling a lead. we're not leaving a leader voicemail because they're kind of not really expecting it, and we know what game they're going to play. They're going to be, oh, I'm not going to answer the phone to them. They're going to sell me something. God forbid we sell them something that improves their health. The irony of the world. However, when it's hey, Mr. Smith, I know you've been coming to the business for the last 6 weeks. This is just a courtesy call from the quality control team, just to make sure that you loved what we did. Keyword, loved what we did. Yeah. If you use those, yeah, loved it. Good. Well, you can tell your friends that I loved it. Great. That's what they'll use. Whatever you ask them is what they will use. If you say, yeah, I was happy. Good. Did you love it? Yeah. I'd rather them love it than be happy. Yeah. Coronation Street makes me happy, but I love Lost. It's like there's another level of affection towards Lost right now.